Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you some alternatives to the action button that you can use on older iPhones. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now the action button is a great new feature of the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. It gives you this extra button on the side of your iPhone that you can customize to perform a variety of different actions. But if you're using an iPhone without an action button, there's still a variety of ways that you could easily and quickly trigger an action. So most of what I'm going to show you will trigger a shortcut. Shortcuts allow you to perform a variety of different actions, including some of the built-in things that the action button does. So if you go into the Shortcuts app here, for instance, I've got a folder of shortcuts called Action Buttons. I just named the folder that. And it does a variety of things. For instance, in the flashlight shortcut here, it just toggles the flashlight on or off. The calculator one will just launch the calculator app. Gaming Focus will switch to Gaming Focus. And I have one called Record Voice Memo, which will open the Voice Memos app and start a new recording. This is just an example of some of the things that you can do in Shortcuts. There's so much else. But what I want to talk about here is how to trigger these without an action button. So one way to do it is just by running the shortcut. Now of course you can go into the Shortcuts app and tap on the different shortcut buttons here to trigger the shortcut. But you want something a little quicker than that. You can place an icon on your home screen to do this by going to the shortcut that you want. So I'm going to use this flashlight one here. I'll tap on the three dots button at the upper right hand corner of it, and then I will tap the info button there at the bottom, and you can see I could add to home screen. I can customize it a little bit if I want. I'm just going to stick with the icon and name I chose and click add. And now you can see there's flashlight added to my home screen, and I can turn it on or turn off the flashlight just with that button. Now you can also tap and hold an icon and edit the home screen. And now I can remove one of the icons from the dock at the bottom and add this one to it. So this way it's available no matter which screen I'm on. Now I can also add a widget to the home screen. So I'm going to tap and hold either an icon or somewhere else and everything wiggles, and I can tap the plus button there and I can scroll down to Shortcuts and add a Shortcuts widget. Now it doesn't make sense to use the large single shortcut widget. But if you use one of the larger ones, like a group of 4 here, then you get to add this widget here with 4 different things in it. If I tap it, I can choose a folder. So I'm going to actually choose that action button folder that I created before. So it's got those 4 actions in it. So that's just another easy way to trigger a shortcut action from your home screen. But one of the great things about the action button is you don't actually need to do anything on your screen. It's a physical button on the side. So there's one way that you could do that without a button at all, and that's to use the back tap functionality. Go into Settings and then go down to Accessibility and then go to Touch and then scroll all the way to the bottom to back tap. And now you've got either a double back tap or a triple back tap. And all you need to do is simply tap the back of your phone with your finger right in the middle and you can trigger something. So for the double tap, for instance, there are a whole bunch of different system things I can do. So I could actually just turn the flashlight on or off without creating a shortcut first. I could mute and do a whole bunch of different things. But for ultimate control, you can go down to the Shortcuts section and you'll find your shortcuts. So there's that calculator launching one I did. So now if I have that one set as my double back tap, when I double back tap my iPhone, it will bring up the calculator app. And the great thing is you can actually set up 2 separate actions. One for the double tap, one for the triple tap. Now there's another way to also use a physical button to trigger any shortcut you want, but it's a little bit messy. If you go to the top level of Accessibility and then you scroll all the way down to Accessibility Shortcut, you can actually trigger a lot of different things by triple pressing the side button on your iPhone. Now if one of these things isn't what you want to do, you can actually trigger a shortcut. But it's a little messy, as I said. The trick is to set it to magnifier. And you can only have magnifier set. If you have more than one check mark, it's going to give you a menu of things to choose from. But just one check mark will immediately go to what you want. Now magnifier is unique in all of these in that magnifier is actually an app. So since it's an app, I can go into Shortcuts here and then at the top level go to Automations. I can add a new automation and I can set this automation to trigger when an app is launched. I'll choose the app here and I will find the magnifier app. So when the magnifier app is launched it will do something. Now I'm going to set it to run immediately and no notification there. I'll go to Next. Now when magnifier is opened I'm going to have it trigger a shortcut. I'm going to have it trigger something like, say, the calculator shortcut that I created. So when the magnifier is opened it's going to run that calculator shortcut which will open the calculator app. So now I can exit out of here. Now watch what happens when I triple press the side button. You're going to see the magnifier open briefly and then it will immediately run the shortcut which opens the calculator app. So that's what I mean by it's a little messy because you see the magnifier kind of launch there. So if that's fine, this is a good way to actually have a physical button very similar to the action button. It just takes a triple press of the side button to activate any shortcut you want. Now you can also go in Accessibility to Touch and then turn on Assistive Touch. This will bring up this little Assistive Touch button right here. If I tap it you can see it creates this little menu and I could do various things. It's an accessibility feature. But you can customize how it works here. You can see single tap, double tap, and long press can all be customized. So you can set a single tap to do a variety of different things including run a shortcut. So I can do, say, calculator like that. Or maybe it might make more sense to say flashlight. And now I've got this button here that I can move around on the screen. And when I just do a quick short tap of it, it turns on the flashlight or toggles it off. And I can customize that to run any shortcut that I want. I could also set up an action for double tap and for long press. And I can just move this around as I need to get it out of the way. Now I'm going to show you one last one only because some other people are talking about it. And that's to create a special shortcut that will take one of the volume buttons and allow you to use that to trigger an action. Now there are a lot of things I don't like about doing this. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. And a lot of the examples I've seen of this are extremely complex and they don't need to be. Let's go into a Shortcuts app here and I'm going to go to Shortcuts and then I've created a shortcut here called Volume Up Action. And that will turn your Volume Up button into something that will trigger a shortcut. The way it works is it's going to start off by looking for input. Now when you first run the shortcut there's going to be no input. So then it's going to get the current volume and store that in a variable called current volume. Then it's going to look to see if the shortcut input has any value. If it doesn't because you've just run it, then it's not going to perform anything in this if statement here. Instead it's going to skip all the way to the end and it's just going to simply run itself. So loop in other words. And you can see here it's going to send the current volume of value as an input parameter for the next time through the loop. So the next time through the loop it will go through this if statement and shortcut input does have a value. It's then going to check to see if the current volume is different than the previous value. In other words, the volume has changed. And greater than means it's changed and it's now higher. In other words, you've pressed the volume up button. If it has, then it's going to run the shortcut calculator. And you could actually, tap this and select a different shortcut if you want. So you can easily change which shortcut you're running right here in this one step. Then it's going to go and set the volume back to its previous amount. So if you move the volume up, it will recognize it did. It will trigger this shortcut here and then we'll set it back down. In other words, making the up volume button not have that effect. Otherwise, doing this will not only trigger this but also raise the volume and will only work until volume gets to 100% and then stop working because it can't go any higher. Then it's going to, since the volume has changed, it's going to change the value of current volume so that when it's all done it sends that new value into the loop. So the next time it won't trigger again until you use the volume up button another time. Now since it's looping constantly I've set it to simply wait a second at the end so it's only checking once a second instead of as fast as it can over and over again. I would think that would do a little bit better with battery life and taking over the processor time of your iPhone. There's a lot of things not to like about this in that it's got to always be running. So you have to start it like this and you can see it's just going to keep running. Now Normally if I would do volume up it would launch Calculator app, but because I'm recording the screen the volume buttons don't actually change the volume. So you have to trust me that it actually does work. But this has got to keep running. And if you stop it, it won't do anything anymore. So I don't think it's a good idea to have a shortcut always running like that, just looking for the volume to change. However, it could be useful in situations where you want to trigger something over a very short period of time. In other words, you're setting your iPhone into a certain mode where you could easily turn the flashlight on and off. And then when you're done doing whatever it is you're doing, you simply stop the shortcut from running. So the general idea could still be useful. What I've created here is a very succinct version of this. I've seen others that are extremely complex with lots of menus and options and things like that. But this gives you the general idea if you really want to go this route. So there are a whole bunch of different alternatives to an action button. If you don't happen to have one on your iPhone, I think probably the back tap solution is the best one. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.